Since the invasion, over 6,000 monasteries have been destroyed in Tibet and religious freedom is very limited. That is why a large percentage of exiles hope to enter one of the monasteries around Dharamsala. The most important of these is the monastery of Namgyal, which is just a few meters from the official residence of the Dalai Lama. Like every afternoon, the 200 monks here gather together in the covered courtyard to discuss Buddhist philosophy. The master throws a series of questions into the air, which the apprentices must discuss. They defend their ideas with such determination that sometimes it almost seems as if they will come to blows. But in fact, it's all entirely good-humored. Dharamsala is also the seat of the Tibetan government in exile, with a number of different ministries which coordinate the international campaign against the Beijing government's policy of genocide. Tsewang Tetong is the Minister of Information and International Relations, one of the men with most influence over the Dalai Lama and the first Tibetan who studied abroad.
Now this office is Information and International Relations, very similar to the Foreign Office. Since we are in exile, it's difficult to call ourselves Foreign Office. But we do the same work as a Foreign Office, keeping relationship with the outside governments, organizations, NGOs, and as well as the Tibetan community and support groups all over the world. Especially in the last 10 years or so, that Chinese have systematically brought in programs and campaigns to destroy not just the political structure or the political resistance, but also the culture, religion, and identity of Tibetans. Now that is very dangerous. And if we here in the meantime keep saying we want independence, in the meantime, if the Tibetans are killed in Tibet, or if their culture and religion and identities is destroyed, and what is the use of having the land if we do not have a culture, if we do not have people? Similar situation as the native, the Aborigines in North America. There are some small groups that are still there, but they've lost their language, they've lost their culture almost, and they're just there to perform on some ceremonies, some dance and things, but their whole culture of many thousand years is gone. So we are afraid of that might happen to Tibet.
In the field of culture and spirituality, almost something like whether intentionally or unintentionally some kind of cultural genocide is taking place. On the other hand, you see Tibetan spirit inside Tibet, as I mentioned before briefly, very high. And then support from the outside world as a result of getting better awareness. Their support or sympathy, spirit of solidarity also is getting stronger. So therefore things are changing. Many Chinese, outside as well as inside, they're very critical about the current Chinese government policy. More and more Chinese now openly supporting about my middle approach. I'm not seeking independence. I'm not seeking separation from People's Republic of China. Within the People's Republic of China, genuine self-rule. That I consider best way for, let's say, safeguard of Tibetan cultural heritage as well as Buddhist spirituality, and also I think best safeguard for unity and stability.
To the north of Dharamsala, deep in the heart of the Indian Himalayas, isolated from the outside world, lies a valley in which the essence of Tibetan spirituality and culture is conserved. This valley is known as Little Tibet. To either side of the Ladakh Valley rise high, arid, barren mountains crossed by the Indus River. The name Ladakh comes from the Tibetan Ladwags, which means the land of the passes. At this point, the river is fast flowing, running north towards the region of Baltistan and then into the fertile valleys of neighboring Pakistan, across the deep gorges sculpted by the force of its waters, transforming the landscape into a world of incredible, surreal forms. The villages and hamlets stand among fields of crops planted on any available land in this vertical world. The Ladakhis take advantage of every last piece of fertile land, and at the end of April, when spring is about to arrive, the farmers, helped by the yaks, get the soil ready to sow the barley. For both the Ladakhis and the nomads, the yak is essential in their lives. The dung provides the vital fuel for cooking and heating their houses during the long cold winters. The milk and meat are a basic part of their diet. With the skins they make clothes and their tents. They are their means of transport and the goods that they trade. The houses are solid constructions in Tibetan style arranged around the monastery. Their thick walls give them a robust appearance despite the poverty and the lack of materials in the region. On the rooftops are the latrines and the larders in which they store the grass to feed the cattle. Inside, the kitchen is the main room where family life takes place. Here they not only cook, but also eat and sleep by the heat of the fire. Leh is the capital of the Ladakh Valley. The city is presided over by a castle of 9 stories, built on the slope of the hill, and though its walls are well conserved, the interior has been ruined and abandoned since 1942, when the Dogra Hindu dynasty annexed the Ladakh Valley to the provinces of Jammu and Kashmir. The small, bustling city of 25,000 inhabitants traditionally based its prosperity on the trade in tea, salt, carpets and wooden sculptures, which were sold to the republics of Central Asia in the bazaars of Kashgar or Samarkand. Today, Leh is an important strategic center for India. The strong military presence is a reminder that the Ladakh Valley runs along the disputed border with China and Pakistan. The character of the city has also changed since the valley was opened to tourists in 1974. Since then, over 100 small hotels have been built, and the businesses of the main bazaar have been turned into souvenir shops. But still, Leh conserves that atmosphere of a remote, isolated city, which for 9 months a year is cut off from the outside world by the snow. Around the Chortens, the Ladakhis gather to begin a pilgrimage. In such a mountainous country where there are virtually no roads or motor vehicles, walking long distances is part of life, and visiting these sacred places scattered along the routes is a good way to accumulate merits. For the majority of Tibetans, their natural surroundings are full of sacred visions and places of power. The mountains can be seen as mandala images, the rocks reach spiritual dimensions, and the land is full of supernatural powers. Under the guidance of the Great Lama, the pilgrims get ready to begin the 3-day journey to the monastery of Leh. The pilgrimage is not just a question of walking to a sacred place and then returning home. Performing chaktsal or prostrations along the route is the best way to demonstrate your devotion. These prostrations follow a fixed sequence. First they clap their hands above their heads, then touch their foreheads and hearts before assuming a position similar to that of Muslims when they pray, and finally lying flat out on the ground with the arms outstretched.